Why do some people stay unshaken in the face of chaos? Why do they remain calm, focused, and powerful, even when life throws pain, betrayal, or loss their way? It's not luck. It's not an easier life. It's the timeless power of Stoic philosophy, the art of mastering your mind, emotions, and inner strength. For centuries, Stoics like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus taught that true success and freedom don't come from controlling the world, but from controlling ourselves. And today, in a world of stress, anxiety, and constant distraction, their wisdom is more relevant than ever. This is not just ancient philosophy. This is the ultimate blueprint for emotional resilience, mental toughness, and lasting peace of mind. So whether you're overwhelmed by stress, struggling with adversity, or simply looking for more joy in your everyday moments, stay with me. Because today we're going to dive deep into Stoic wisdom. Timeless lessons that can transform not only the way you think, but the way you live your life. If you're ready to build inner strength, sharpen your focus, and unlock unshakable calm, make sure you subscribe, like, and share this journey. Because each moment of this video is a step toward mastering the Stoic art of living, a way of life that can help you not just survive, but thrive, no matter what challenges come your way. Let's start part 1, the power of presence and self-mastery. There's something deeply powerful about being missed, about having your presence echo so strongly in someone's life that your absence feels louder than your words ever could. Imagine this, moments when you're not even around, yet you're still the first thought that crosses their mind. They replay conversations, imagine your reactions, and feel your influence even in your silence. This isn't about manipulation or craving attention. It's about cultivating a presence so rooted in self-mastery, authenticity, and inner strength that others can't help but notice when you're not there. The Stoics understood this power well. They taught that true influence doesn't come from forcing yourself into people's lives, but from living with such clarity, dignity, and calm that your example speaks louder than any words. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Presence, then, isn't about noise. It's about embodiment, living in alignment with your values so fully that people feel it, even in your absence. Think about modern psychology. Research shows that humans remember not just what you say, but how you make them feel. When you're grounded in self-control, compassion, and calmness, you leave behind an emotional imprint, a resonance that lingers. That's why silence can sometimes be more powerful than speech, and restraint more commanding than reaction. But what does this mean for us in daily life? It means practicing the art of non-reactivity. When someone tries to provoke you, pause. When life throws chaos at you, breathe before responding. This pause isn't weakness, it's strength disguised as calm. It shows that your emotions don't own you, that you stand above the storm instead of being tossed within it. Epictetus reminded his students, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Your presence becomes magnetic, not because you demand attention, but because you radiate control, calm, and quiet confidence. People notice the difference. They sense the stability, the groundedness, and in a world full of noise, that kind of presence is unforgettable. So remember this, the power of being missed is not about absence. It's about what you've cultivated in presence. Live with intention, carry yourself with dignity, and hold your emotions with discipline. Do this, and when you step away, your absence will speak volumes. Part 2. Embracing change with courage and grace. Life is constant motion. Nothing stays still, no matter how much we may want it to. The seasons shift, circumstances evolve, people grow closer or drift away. Change is not the exception, it is the rule. And yet for many of us, change feels unsettling, even frightening. The Stoics understood this tension. They taught that resisting change is like standing in the middle of a river, trying to stop the current with your bare hands. Not only is it impossible, but it also exhausts you. Instead, they advised us to flow with the current, to navigate change with courage, wisdom, and grace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Observe constantly that all things take place by change, and accustom yourself to the thought that the nature of the universe loves nothing so much as to change." This is not simply a poetic reflection. It is a survival strategy. To live is to adapt, and to adapt is to thrive. Modern psychology reinforces this wisdom. Studies show that those who view change as an opportunity rather than a threat tend to experience greater resilience, reduced stress, and deeper personal growth. Our mindset is the lens that determines whether change breaks us or builds us. But how do we embrace change in daily life? First, by shifting perspective. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this teaching me?" This subtle shift transforms chaos into a classroom, pain into a lesson, and uncertainty into possibility. Second, cultivate flexibility. Epictetus taught that we cannot control external events, but we can always control how we meet them. Like a tree in the wind, rigidity makes us break, but flexibility allows us to bend without losing our roots. Third, practice gratitude even in times of change. Seneca reminded us that fortune can take everything away, but not our attitude. Gratitude anchors us to what remains, giving us strength to face what is new. Think of your own life. Every major transformation, whether it was leaving a job, ending a relationship, or starting something new, likely came with fear at first. But didn't it also carry growth? Didn't it also shape you into who you are now? Change is uncomfortable, yes, but it is also the sculptor of character. To embrace change with courage and grace is not to deny difficulty. It is to face it with steady eyes, open hands, and a heart willing to learn. When we do this, change becomes less of an enemy and more of a teacher, guiding us toward a fuller, wiser, more resilient life. Part 3. The power of compassion and empathy as we learn to embrace change. Another lesson from Stoicism becomes clear. We are not alone in this journey. Life is not just about individual survival, but about how we relate to others. Compassion and empathy are not luxuries. They are virtues essential to a meaningful life. Marcus Aurelius reminded us, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." This simple truth captures a profound idea. Our well-being is woven into the well-being of others. If we live only for ourselves, we cut ourselves off from the very source of strength and meaning that community provides. Seneca also urged us to extend kindness even to those who wrong us. He observed that people act out of their own struggles, limitations, or ignorance, and that responding with anger only deepens the wound. Compassion, on the other hand, has the power to break cycles of hostility. Epictetus took this further by encouraging his students to see life from others' perspectives. This doesn't mean excusing cruelty or injustice, but it does mean recognizing that everyone has reasons behind their actions. To seek understanding, even in conflict, is to rise above blind reaction. Modern psychology supports these insights. Research shows that practicing empathy increases emotional intelligence, improves relationships, and even enhances physical health by reducing stress. Compassion activates areas of the brain linked with reward and happiness, meaning that by caring for others, we also nurture ourselves. But how do we actually live this wisdom? It begins with listening. Not the passive act of hearing words, but the active choice to pay attention to the tone, the emotions, the unspoken struggles in another's story. To listen is to say, "You matter. Your experience is seen." Small acts matter too. A smile, A kind word or a moment of patience can carry more weight than we imagine. Stoicism teaches that virtue lies in the everyday choices we make, and what is kindness, if not virtue, expressed in action. Compassion also calls us to stand beside others in times of hardship, to offer presence, not judgment, to support without needing to solve. This is not weakness, it is strength, for it requires us to step outside of ourselves and embrace the shared humanity we all carry. Aristotle, though not a Stoic, added an important dimension: the role of friendship. He believed true friends not only share joys but also sorrows, walking with each other through the spectrum of human experience. In such relationships, empathy becomes the bond that endures. So let us remember, behind every face is a hidden story. Behind every action, a reason. By choosing empathy, we choose to bridge divides, to soften harshness, and to create ripples of kindness that extend far beyond what we see. When we embody compassion and empathy, we not only enrich the lives of others, but we also cultivate our own inner peace. For in caring deeply, we fulfill one of the highest callings of the Stoic life: to live not only with wisdom, but with humanity. Part 4. The discipline of reflection and self-review. Compassion and empathy turn our gaze outward, but the Stoics also taught us to look inward, to examine our thoughts, our actions, and the path we are walking. This practice of reflection is not a luxury, it is a discipline, a daily anchor that keeps us aligned with our values in a world full of distractions. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the most powerful empire of his time, still set aside moments to reflect in solitude. His writings, known today as meditations, were never meant for others' eyes. They were his private notes, reminders to himself about virtue, patience, humility, and courage. He wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." In these words, we find the essence of reflection, to purify the inner dialogue that shapes our reality. Seneca compared life to a play. Just as actors pause to review their performance and refine their roles, we too must pause to assess whether we are acting in harmony with the character we aspire to be. He asked us to look back and ask, am I living according to the script of virtue, or am I straying into a lesser role? This metaphor reminds us that self-examination is not about shame, but about stepping closer to the person we wish to become. Epictetus advised his students to end each day with questions. What did I do well? What did I do poorly? What duties did I leave undone? Notice how gentle this method is. It's not harsh judgment, but honest awareness. To reflect in this way is to steer the ship of our life with intention, adjusting course each evening, so we don't drift aimlessly. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Studies show that regular self-reflection reduces stress, increases clarity, and enhances decision-making. Journaling, in particular, has been proven to improve emotional well-being by helping us process our experiences. The Stoics, without modern science, intuited what we now confirm with research. Reflection is a tool for resilience. So how do we practice this in our own lives? Set aside a moment daily. Before bed, pause and review your day. Recall your victories, however small, and acknowledge your challenges. Awareness is the first step toward growth. Write it down. Keeping a journal transforms fleeting thoughts into a record of your journey. Over time, patterns emerge, strengths to build on, weaknesses to correct. Balance self-assessment with gratitude. Don't only dwell on mistakes, also recognize what went well. Gratitude grounds us, reminding us of the good that exists even in difficult days. Be gentle with yourself. Reflection is not about self-punishment. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend, with honesty, but also compassion. Aristotle, though not a Stoic, once said that the unexamined life is not truly lived. Reflection, then, is not merely a mental exercise, but the essence of wisdom itself. To reflect is to pause in the rush of life and ask, am I living in accordance with my highest values, or am I being carried away by impulse and habit? In modern times, where speed and distraction dominate, reflection is more needed than ever. It prevents us from being swept away by the noise of the world. It grounds us. It reminds us that while we cannot control everything that happens, we can always control how we respond, how we grow, and how we live. So let us commit to this practice, to pause, to look inward, to learn. For in knowing ourselves, we find the compass to navigate life with clarity and virtue. Reflection is not about dwelling in the past, it is about preparing the soul for a wiser tomorrow. Part 5. Living vibrantly, purposefully, and authentically. Reflection, compassion, resilience, these are not separate lessons but threads of the same tapestry. The Stoics didn't just give us ideas. They gave us a way of living, a way to face life's storms without losing ourselves. They taught us that life is not defined by the obstacles we encounter, but by the courage with which we face them. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This timeless insight frees us from the chains of external chaos and guides us back to the inner fortress of calm and clarity. Seneca went further, saying, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Here we are reminded that fulfillment doesn't come from accumulation or applause, but from aligning with values that truly matter: wisdom, kindness, courage, and self-mastery. Epictetus, once a slave and later a teacher, embodied resilience. He insisted that our circumstances do not define us, only our choices do. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This truth is liberating. Even when life seems unfair, our power lies in response, in action, in character. Modern psychology mirrors this. Research on resilience shows that people who frame challenges as opportunities for growth are better able to adapt and thrive. Gratitude practices, compassion for others, and daily reflection, all Stoic tools, are now recognized as key pillars of emotional well-being. But the question remains, how do we live this way in practice? Face struggles with courage. See them not as punishments, but as training grounds for strength. Just as the body grows through resistance, the soul grows through challenge. Share kindness generously. Whether through empathy, support, or small acts of goodwill, let compassion flow outward. Every act of kindness ripples further than we imagine. Reflect and recalibrate. Let each day be a lesson. Celebrate victories, learn from mistakes, and walk forward wiser. Live by values, not applause. A life lived for show is shallow. A life lived for virtue is deep and unshakable. Aristotle spoke of living the good life, one aligned with virtue, wisdom, and excellence. The Stoics expanded this vision, insisting that even amidst hardship, we can live with dignity and meaning. And modern voices echo the same truth. Authenticity, being true to ourselves, aligned with our values, is the foundation of lasting fulfillment. Life, then, is like a canvas. Each decision, each act of kindness, each reflection is a brushstroke. Some strokes may be messy, some bold, some delicate, but together they form the masterpiece of our lives. The Stoics remind us that we are both the painter and the canvas. So let us not drift passively. Let us live vibrantly, embracing joy without clinging, facing pain without despair. Let us live purposefully, guided not by impulse, but by principle. And above all, let us live authentically, true to who we are and who we aspire to be. This is the Stoic path, not the absence of difficulty, but the presence of strength, compassion, and wisdom in the face of it. And in walking this path, we create lives not only worth living but worth remembering. Part 6. The power of reflection and introspection. In a world that constantly pushes us to move faster, achieve more, and never pause, there is something profoundly radical about stopping, about turning inward to reflect. The Stoics understood this deeply. They believed that without reflection, life becomes reactive, chaotic, and unanchored. But with reflection, life becomes deliberate, meaningful, and guided by wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, despite being emperor of Rome, ended his days, writing personal notes that we now know as meditations. He examined his thoughts, his choices, his failures, and his victories, not to boast or condemn himself, but to ensure he lived aligned with his values. He reminded himself daily, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Reflection, then, was not a luxury, it was his compass. Seneca, too, practiced nightly self-examination. He described his evenings as a tribunal of the soul. He would ask himself, "What weakness did I overcome today? What virtue did I practice? What mistake can I correct tomorrow?" His goal was not perfection, but progress, a steady sharpening of character. Epictetus encouraged his students to make reflection a daily ritual. "Let not sleep fall upon your eyes before you have thrice reviewed the acts of the day." He believed this practice was the key to self-mastery, for it turns life into a teacher and every day into a lesson. Modern psychology confirms this ancient wisdom. Studies on journaling and self-reflection show that people who regularly review their thoughts and actions experience greater clarity of purpose, lower levels of stress and anxiety, higher emotional intelligence, stronger decision-making skills. Reflection gives us perspective. Instead of being swept away by the emotions of the moment, we learn to see patterns in our behavior, identify blind spots, and recognize growth. But how can we bring this into our own lives? Make it a ritual. Before bed, take 5 to 10 minutes to review your day. Ask, what did I do well? What did I struggle with? What can I improve tomorrow? Write it down. Journaling transforms fleeting thoughts into tangible insights. Over time, you'll see not only your struggles, but also your growth. Balance reflection with gratitude. Don't only focus on mistakes. Also note the joys, small victories, and moments of connection. Gratitude strengthens resilience and keeps reflection uplifting rather than harsh. Reflect with kindness. Self-examination is not self-condemnation. Treat yourself as you would a dear friend. Honest, yes, but also compassionate. Aristotle said that knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom, and the Stoics agreed. For without self-knowledge, we cannot hope to live in harmony with reason or virtue. Reflection is how we step out of autopilot and begin to truly live. So let us embrace this pause, this quiet turning inward. In reflection, we do more than look back. We gather the wisdom needed to move forward, stronger and more aligned with who we want to be. Part 7. Turning reflection into action. Living with purpose. Reflection without action is like planting seeds and never watering them. The Stoics were clear. Wisdom must move from thought into life. To think deeply but live carelessly was, to them, a great contradiction. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself often, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." Reflection gives us clarity, but it is action that brings transformation. A life of virtue is not built in the mind alone. It is forged in daily choices, habits, and behaviors. Seneca compared life to a stage play. He said that we are all actors in a grand drama, and while we cannot choose the role we're given, we can choose how we perform it. Reflection shows us what role we want to play, but action is where we step onto the stage and embody it. Epictetus drove this home with blunt honesty. He told his students that philosophy wasn't about words or theories, but about living differently. He asked, "How long will you wait before you demand the best of yourself?" This was his challenge, to stop excusing ourselves and to begin practicing what we know. Modern psychology echoes this wisdom. Research in habit formation shows that small, repeated actions reshape our brain and behavior. Reflection helps us identify what to change. Consistent action makes that change real. For example, noticing impatience in reflection, practicing slow breathing the next time frustration arises, recognizing distraction, setting phone-free times for focus, realizing a lack of kindness, making a conscious effort to greet others warmly tomorrow. The Stoics understood this link. Their reflections each night weren't meant to remain in a journal. They were meant to shape tomorrow's actions, to practice courage instead of fear, temperance instead of excess, justice instead of selfishness, and wisdom instead of ignorance. So how can we bring this principle into our own lives? Turn insight into an experiment. Each night, pick one lesson from your reflection and test it the next day. If you noticed anger, practice patience. If you noticed laziness, practice discipline. Start small but steady. Don't aim for radical overnight change. The Stoics taught progress, not perfection. A single act of kindness, one moment of patience, or 5 minutes of stillness can ripple outward. Embrace mistakes as teachers. When you fail, and you will, don't despair. Seneca said, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end." Mistakes are not the end of growth, but the path through it. Anchor action in values. Reflection clarifies what matters most to us. Let those values, justice, courage, wisdom, self-control, guide your daily actions like stars guiding a sailor through stormy seas. In this way, reflection becomes more than thought. It becomes the fuel for transformation. The Stoics didn't simply sit in quiet contemplation. They stepped boldly into life, striving to embody their philosophy in every choice. As Marcus Aurelius put it, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Reflection gives the color, but our actions are the brushstrokes that paint the masterpiece of our lives. Part 8. Compassion, empathy, and the social nature of Stoicism. No Stoic ever believed that wisdom meant detachment from humanity. Quite the opposite. They saw us as threads in a vast tapestry, each life woven into the other. To live well, they said, is not only to master ourselves, but to contribute to the harmony of the whole. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings none to the bee." This was not just a metaphor, but a thus guiding principle. Our well-being is inseparable from the well-being of others. To harm or neglect others is, in a deeper sense, to harm ourselves. Seneca echoed this truth. He argued that compassion and kindness are not weaknesses, but natural instincts of a rational being. Even when people act wrongly, he urged us to see them as misguided souls, burdened by their struggles. "We are waves of the same sea," he said, reminding us that empathy binds us more strongly than judgment. Epictetus went further. He advised his students to try to understand before condemning. He knew that every person acts from their own perception of the world, however flawed. To him, empathy did not mean condoning harmful actions, but recognizing the human story behind them, the fears, desires, and ignorance that drive behavior. Modern psychology now validates this ancient insight. Studies show that practicing empathy reduces stress, strengthens relationships, and enhances personal happiness. Acts of kindness trigger the brain's reward systems, releasing serotonin and oxytocin, literally making us feel more connected and fulfilled. But compassion is not only a lofty ideal, It is a practice. How do we cultivate it in daily life? Listen deeply. Instead of planning your reply, absorb someone's words. Let them feel heard. True listening is a gift of presence. Imagine their world. Ask yourself, what might they be carrying? What pain or hope drives them? This simple shift in perspective transforms irritation into understanding. Act in small kindnesses. A smile, a gentle word, an offer of help. These may seem small, but for someone burdened, they can be lifelines. Respond, don't react. When wronged, pause. Remember Epictetus. The insult says more about the insulter's pain than about your worth. Choosing empathy over retaliation preserves both dignity and peace. Aristotle, though not a Stoic, beautifully aligned with this truth. He spoke of friendship as one of life's greatest treasures, built on mutual empathy and shared virtue. For him, true friends don't only share joy but also walk together through sorrow. The Stoics believed this. Compassion enriches not only the receiver, but also the giver. By extending kindness, we affirm our own humanity. By lifting others, we rise ourselves. So, when you meet someone today, remember, behind every face is a story. Behind every action, a reason. Choosing empathy allows us to see beyond the surface, into the shared heartbeat of humanity. As Marcus Aurelius whispered to himself, "Men are made for one another. Teach them or bear with them." Part 9. Reflection, Gratitude, and the Art of Self-Awareness. In a world that rarely slows down, the Stoics taught us the importance of pausing. They believed that life isn't just meant to be lived, but examined, understood, and shaped with intention. Reflection, they said, is the anchor that prevents us from being swept away by the currents of impulse, distraction, and chaos. Marcus Aurelius modeled this practice through his meditations, private journals where he examined his choices, questioned his motives, and reminded himself of what truly mattered. He didn't write for fame or legacy. He wrote to keep his soul steady. In one line, he declared, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." These were not empty words, but the discipline of a man who ruled an empire, yet made time to rule himself. Seneca, too, encouraged nightly self-examination. He compared life to a stage play. Each day we perform a role, and at night we must review. Did we act with integrity or stray from our character? Reflection, for him, was not about guilt, but growth, a rehearsal for becoming who we aspire to be. Epictetus guided his students with simple but profound questions. What did I do well today? What did I do poorly? What duties did I neglect? These questions weren't punishments, but signposts, pointing us toward wisdom and away from regret. And what about gratitude? The Stoics placed immense value on appreciating life's simplest gifts. Seneca reminded us that happiness comes not from having more, but from wanting less. To wake up healthy, to witness the sunrise, to share a meal, to breathe. These, he said, are treasures too easily overlooked. Modern psychology affirms this ancient wisdom. Daily reflection has been shown to improve clarity of purpose, emotional regulation, and resilience. Gratitude practices, such as writing down 3 things you're thankful for, significantly increase happiness and lower stress. Science, in essence, is confirming what Stoics already knew. Our inner dialogue shapes our outer experience. But how can we practice this today? End your day with reflection. Spend 5 minutes asking, what did I learn today? Where did I grow? Where can I improve tomorrow? Writing it down makes it tangible. Balance self-critique with kindness. Mistakes are not failures, but lessons. Treat yourself as you would a close friend. Firm, but compassionate. Practice gratitude daily. Each morning or evening, list a few things, however small, that you are thankful for. Over time, this rewires your brain to notice joy in the ordinary. Use challenges as mirrors. Instead of asking, "Why me?" ask, what is this teaching me about myself? In every difficulty lies a lesson in resilience. Aristotle said that wisdom is found in understanding ourselves, our actions, and our place in the world. Reflection, then, is not a luxury, but the essence of living a meaningful life. When we pause, when we look inward, we gain the power to move forward with clarity. We begin to notice not just where we've stumbled, but where we've grown. We stop chasing happiness in the distance and find it quietly waiting in the present moment. The Stoics leave us with this truth. Life is not about perfection, but direction. Reflection keeps us aligned. Gratitude keeps us humble. And together they make our journey lighter, clearer, and more fulfilling. Part 10. Living Stoicism. From reflection to action. We've walked together through the wisdom of the Stoics, from embracing change to mastering perspective to practicing courage, compassion, and reflection. And now here we stand at the final step, the invitation to live this philosophy, not just admire it. The Stoics never intended their teachings to remain words in dusty books. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his meditations for us, he wrote them for himself, as reminders to live well each day. Epictetus told his students bluntly, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." And Seneca urged us to stop wasting time, reminding us that life is not short, but we make it so by squandering it. These teachings point us toward a single truth. Wisdom is useless without practice. Reflection is valuable, but reflection without action is just daydreaming. Gratitude is powerful, but only if it shapes the way we treat others. Knowledge of virtue is noble, but only when it guides our decisions in moments of pressure. So how do we live Stoicism today? Face life with courage. Every challenge, no matter how small, is an opportunity to strengthen your character. Don't shy away from discomfort. Lean into it, for it shapes you. Choose perspective. Remember that events don't disturb us. Our judgments do. When frustration rises, pause. Ask, is this within my control? If not, let it go. Practice compassion. Every person you meet carries invisible struggles. Be kind, not because the world always deserves it, but because it makes you stronger, calmer, and freer. Reflect daily, review your choices, celebrate your growth, and adjust where needed. As Epictetus said, progress is not achieved by luck, but by daily effort. Live with gratitude. See the ordinary as extraordinary. Each moment is a gift, fleeting, fragile, and precious. Modern psychology echoes these practices. Building habits of reflection, kindness, and gratitude not only improves mental well-being, but also strengthens resilience and joy. In a world obsessed with speed and distraction, Stoicism gives us a compass, a way to walk slower, deeper, and more intentionally. But perhaps the most important reminder is this: you don't need to be perfect. The Stoics themselves stumbled. Marcus lost his temper. Seneca struggled with wealth and politics. Epictetus admitted his limitations. Yet they never stopped returning to the path of virtue. The journey itself, with all its setbacks, is the practice. Your life is a canvas. Each choice, each reflection, each act of courage is a brushstroke. You don't need to paint a masterpiece in one day, but over time, with patience and persistence, you'll see the design take shape. A life lived not for applause, but for authenticity. So as we close this journey together, I invite you, don't just read Stoicism, live it. Don't just admire wisdom, apply it. Don't just endure life, shape it. Because in the end, it's not the challenges we face that define us, but the strength, the wisdom, and the compassion we cultivate along the way. This is your path, your philosophy in action, your chance to not just exist, but to live vibrantly, purposefully, and authentically. And as we part ways for now, remember this: life is short, but meaning is infinite, if we dare to live by it. Until we meet, again, keep reflecting, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful complexity of being human.